What's up, y'all? My name is T. Shaw, and this is Brewin Black Podcast, where the contents we serve you is authentic, vulnerable, and relatable. That means we serve you with no cream and no sugar.
I guess I like my coffee black.
Hi, everyone. My name is Scholar P, pronouns he, him, his.
And it's your boy T. Shaw, pronouns he, him, his.
And we want to welcome you to Brewin Black, where we give you the latest and greatest in the news and in topics for those who like their news and their topics, like we like our coffee. Black. T, how you feeling today, brother?
I'm feeling good, bro. I'm feeling good. I'm very excited for this discussion. Last week was our off week, but I feel like it was on and popping.
My God.
So I'm glad that we got some time to like really catch up, catch up with each other, but also catch up with the Brewers. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, how you feeling?
Man, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to the fans and to our audience, man. This week has slapped the dog shit out of me. But like Chris Rock,
you got rocked.
Oh yes. Life was Will Smith, and it really smacked the shit out of me this week. But like Chris Rock, I am still standing somehow, and I am trying to handle it with class and grace.
Okay.
So,
Word to Katanji.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna figure it out somehow, T. But I'm excited to get into it because this week got me thinking about my own legacy. Like dang,
Okay.
So,
Before we hop into it, you want to share anything? You can get anything off your chest, or just
you know what? So that might be for some Patreon material. This is some really deep seated stuff, yo.
I feel you.
It's been one heck of a week. You ever have one of those times where you sit alone in a dark room and listen to everything from gospel to R&B and hip hop to help you process? It's been one of those weeks, y'all. And you got your little drink of choice. It's been one of those weeks, man.
Okay.
Drama just everywhere and more to come. maybe.
Oh, no.
So we shall see. But I think it's important to be honest with yourself, and we got to normalize when people ask you how you feeling. You got to tell them, hey, if you're going through some shit, you're going through some shit.
I feel it.
But
I feel it.
But
Keep
we
it
here
real.
though.
Keep it a beam.
Come
you
on,
feel
man.
me?
Beam.
All right. So before we hop into it, we got to do our land acknowledgments.
Absolutely.
This is the land of the Gabrielino and the Tongva. This is stolen land. This is colonized land, and we will always pay those respects.
Absolutely. So, you sort of brought it up, but masculinity has been showing itself in so many ways this week.
Absolutely.
We're not really going to dive too deep into it. On our Instagram at Brewin Black Podcast, we actually did a whole hour segment on Will and Chris, but there's just been so many instances of like masculinity showing up, and we are hoping that everything works out for those two brothers. But was there any quick thing that you wanted to say about it or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want people to take a listen to our last episode. If you missed it, I think it's important because and this is why we moved to the topic, because it's always going to be a conversation. It's going to be always a revolving conversation. And just like we talked about on the Instagram, masculinity is so it's so confined. And unless we have these conversations and we're really kind of diving deep into it, things like this will people will try to force masculinity in a box. So I think it was an interesting week, not only with the Will Smith and Chris Rock thing, but also with Gerard Carmichael. He came out as gay.
Right.
I think that was important. And there was a lot of conversations I saw that were very positive and affirming for him. But also a lot of people pushing this the media is pushing this gay black man agenda, or is it that black men are comfortable coming out as gay, for the first time ever,
Right.
Because masculinity again is always put in a box. So I think it was just an interesting week, and I was like, wow, this was such a well-timed episode. So I hope that this one continues to be that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like masculinity showed up in my own life recently, where I had a more selfish moment. because your masculinity can also make men center themselves in situations as opposed to other people,
That's
just
real.
regardless. And I think that that's something that you all got to watch out for, that we got to watch out for. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, definitely masculinity has been showing its ass. You know what I'm saying? It has been showing its ass. You know what I'm saying? And its ass is dirty. It ain't clean and nothing. It's been some messy masculinity this week, damn. Like that, shit's been crazy, man. But I think that something that we're going to be talking about today, and something we really want to censor, is this idea of legacy, right? And we actually have a quote for you all. This is for all of our Hamilton fans, right?
Yes.
Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. T, what does that quote mean to you, man?
I think it makes me really deeply think about what legacy really means, right? Like who lives, who dies, and who's around to tell your story. And I think that we have to be very conscious of that as we are crafting our legacy, because our legacy is crafted each and every day.
Right.
But we don't get to control that narrative, right? Like someone else is going to tell that story. The different lives that we touch, the different people we talk to, our family that precede us, our accomplishments and accolades that precede us, and people's perception of those things that will live on. So it's like you have to be cognizant and very aware of like how you're crafting your legacy, and how you're treating people around you, because at the end of the day, you don't get to tell that story. Somebody else does.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's crazy that you say that, because I think after this week, what I've been wondering too is like how certain people will remember me, right? So like I've been living with what you have to live with. So we all make these mistakes, we all make these gross miscalculations, and having to live with the fact that that will be a part of your legacy, especially when it happens with someone, is very like it's hard to sort of grasp. And I think that as you're building your legacy, you also have to make room for grace for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have to have grace for yourself, because it's like every little thing you do is a part of your legacy, right? And so when you mess up, you have to sort of keep your head up, because America and the world love a bounce back story. And I think that's what you got to remember as you're building it. And I think that like that's something I'm learning. Like I'm trying to be the very best that I can. I'm trying to give everything my all, but like I'm still gonna like fuck up. You know what I'm saying? And so like if you fucking up, but you know that your story is not over. And I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
The story is not over until you not breathing no more, fam. Like, period. Like, you can fuck up, you can be successful, but if you're up high, you still got time to go low, and vice versa. So like legacy is also about that consistency and keeping a even kilter mindset and headspace.
That's real, because you know that you breathe and live another day.
Right.
You can fight for another day, right? And you can always change that story.
Exactly.
So I think that that's important. So yeah, as we move into the topic, I love to define things, right? So we're talking about legacy. So I had to do a quick dive to figure out what it actually legacy means. I feel like, again, we always throw words around, but it's like, what does that actually mean? So I came across a definition that says the richness of an individual's life, including what someone has accomplished, the impact that they've made on people, place, and things. And then there's another Hamilton quote, for our Hamilton heads. It says, legacy. What is legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden that you never get to see. I wrote some notes at the beginning of a song that someone will sing for me. And it's like, that's a bar.
That's crazy.
That's a bar.
That's crazy.
And it made me just think about like, your legacy is really your mark, the mark you leave on the world, your footprint. Whatever you're leaving, and it's your contributions, and it's not always through like these grand accomplishments. It's just like how you're impacting the people around you. I think that that's so important. Also thinking about it as like the contributions that you're making to future generations, right? Even if you're not going to have your own children, right? Like you're leaving the world in a condition, right? And I think that like our mission as human beings is to leave it a bit better than we got it. I think that that's almost how we inherit like our lives too, right? Like I think the thought of social mobility, right? It's like our parents did something, whether that be good or bad, we're supposed to pick up from where they left off. So it's like some of us got to get it out the mud. And it's like, it's very easy to like kind of woe is me. Like it's tough. Like I got the worst conditions and then kind of stay there. But it's knowing that if you have kids, they're gonna start there too, right?
Right.
So it's like trying to get them to a new place on the track, like so that they're not so far behind, that we can maybe get them up to the starting line or ahead of that. So yeah, those are some of the things I think about, but I think it's so interesting. I like it's planting the seeds in a garden that you never get to see, and I think that a lot of people, I think I want to talk about legacy because I think a lot of people don't consider that, right? And I think when we live in a world that's full of instant gratification, and it's like if we can't reap the rewards right now, then it's not worth it. But I think that it's so important to think forward and think for the future, for us and for other people.
Absolutely, yeah. And to your point, I think that sometimes people, they think about legacy, but they don't think about legacy in all these different categories. I think that sometimes when we think about legacy, we think job. Did you do your career? Did you follow your dreams? But it's like there are different categories of legacy that we'll get into later on. And I think that we need to make legacy more nuanced because legacy is in every aspect of your life, not just your career. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think that we gotta definitely tap into that a lot, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's start off by just getting straight to it. What do you want to be remembered for?
What do I want to be remembered for? It's a heavy question.
Yeah,
All
I
of these
know.
questions are gonna be kind of heavy.
Come on.
I think something I want to be remembered for is I want to make an impact on the world. I always, as a kid, and I only told so many people this, but like I remember sitting down reading history books, and it's like, I don't know why, but I deserve to be here. Like people deserve to be reading about me, and I couldn't understand why, but I wanted to understand like what people did to get in history books. And it's like we used to talk about these great figures, and I used to take those projects so serious because I wanted to know, it's like, why do I have to learn about you? Like what did you do? Like how did you become such a special person? Because there are only so many people we talk about in the world. Like there are billions of people in the world right now, but like there are some people that are extremely notable, and it's like I wanted to be one of them. I didn't want to just be like just somebody that was regular. So I think that that's something I want to be known for, just my impact on the world. I want it to be a positive impact because I know that there can be positive and negative impacts. But I think something else I really want to be known for is just like the love that I share with other people and the spaces that I created for other people and held for other people. When my ability to show up for other people, I want people to remember me in that way for, I guess, my service, my ability to give. And I think that that's important because I think we live in a world where a lot of people take away. So yeah, what about you?
It's interesting because I've always felt like I want to be remembered. I want the statues. I want people to be like, yo, Ashton touch the world. I want to be able to have like access to quote unquote the black elite. I feel like I want to be able to access anyone, anything on planet Earth while I'm alive. And then when I'm gone, when I've transitioned, I want it to be like, oh, this man changed so many different lives and he inspired me in all these different ways. I remember, I got a little teary eyed watching the end of Insecure because I just saw someone who like really followed their dream and impacted their whole city, their whole hometown. And I was like, oh my gosh, had she not kept going when, she was going through trials and tribulations, we wouldn't have none of this.
Yeah, that's
right.
real.
And it's like, I was like, that's what I want. And it made me think like, my legacy are people that I do not know yet and people I will never meet. You know what I mean?
That's real.
Whether it's family or just, strangers in the universe. And I want these strangers in the universe to be able to connect back to me. Like I might never meet Bill Gates, but I was thinking about it the other day. I've been able to travel around the country, meet super great people, and like live a very nice lifestyle, comfortable lifestyle because of whatever work he did to make Microsoft into like make a scholarship foundation. And I might never ever meet him, but I'm like, that's legacy.
Yeah.
You've changed lives and you changed lives. Or his deathbed, he'll be like, yo, I impacted 10,000 lives at least.
Yeah.
At least, and I don't ever even have to meet these people.
Yeah.
That's some cold shit.
Yeah, just through a scholarship, right? And
Come
it's
on,
like
man.
that just reminded me like I was a part of the McNair Scholars program.
Yeah.
And it's like that fundamentally changed my life. Like I know so many people that it really gave them like the edge that they needed, the push that they needed, the resources that they needed. And it's like Ronald McNair died on, I believe, the Apollo or the Challenger, whatever one went up in the air and exploded. He was the first black astronaut. And it's like, I'm gonna hold that man legacy to my heart because it's like,
Right.
because you did what you did, like you couldn't even known that like this program would have started after you, but you inspired so many people. And I really like what you just said. It's like, I think that's something I want to add to my legacy too. Is like, I want to inspire people. It's like when I work with the youth that I work with now, like young black and brown boys, like I don't know what exactly they're taking away from me, but I hope that is some type of inspiration. I hope it's some type of wisdom. And I told them this today. It's just like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be with y'all. Not even like in a morbid sense,
Right,
but
right.
like, you know, life changes, right? And it's
course.
like y'all transfer schools, y'all go on to college, y'all go into the careers, or y'all just stay at home. But I want you, like, all that I want from this program is that like I am sowing some seeds. I remember a teacher used to always say this. He used to say like, look, I don't know exactly what you're gonna get out of me, but all I know is I show up every single day and I try to sow some seeds. And I just hope one day that like it waters and it sprouts. And it's like, as long as I sow the seed, somebody else might water it. And it reminds me of that Tupac quote. It's like, I might not change the
Yeah.
world, but I want to spark the brain that does so, right? And it's like, I want to be a part of that. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be the one to change the world, but I want to be part of that catalyst. It's like Tupac inspired me, so I inspired you. And then you inspire somebody else. And that
Yes.
person is the GOAT, you
Right,
know?
right.
So it's like, I think that I really like that. So I guess moving on to the next question, like, what values do you want to be remembered for?
Values. I want to be known for being considerate.
Mm,
And that means, you know, answering text messages and emails in a certain time frame. That
Mhm.
means showing up on time if I can show up on time. It's like these little things, these little minute things that make people know, like, oh, Ashton's got it. Like, I think not only considerate but dependable. I want-
yeah, and consistent.
Yeah, all
Mm.
those. So yeah, dependable, consistent, considerate, like those things that make people realize that like Ashton made me feel good. I could count on this man. Like this man shows up. Like I'm trying to be a better friend and just a more considerate human being in general.
That's real.
What about you?
I think kindness is definitely one big one for me. And I think that kindness is like rooted in a respect for just human beings in general. It's
Right.
like I treat everyone I meet with kindness, and I feel like I try to lead with that because I be getting frustrated with people.
Right,
Like I be
right,
like,
right.
this dummy. Like
Yeah, I know,
like,
yeah,
I should
yeah.
slap this nigga, man.
Bro, for real.
But it's like I know that I am a role model for a lot of people, and it's like if I stoop to that level, then it's like everybody else will too. So I definitely try to lead with kindness because I also just think it always comes back around. Like I think about how I'm very generous with money. Like I know a lot of people are like, no, these my coins. I'm keeping that shit. Like
Right.
you a panhandler. Like, but it's like for me, it's like I shouldn't have never had this money. Like I don't know how I fell into it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like I know I work hard, but it's like I know plenty of people that work hard that like they're still struggling. So it's
Right,
like,
right.
who am I to hoard my money? Especially when like it's a few dollars. Like if I see somebody on the street and I usually keep a few dollars in my like car just in case I come up on a like an intersection and somebody's asking for money. Cause it's like that $3 might be the difference between you eating for the next 48 hours. And it's like, I'm finna fuck off $3. I ain't gonna
Right,
lie.
right, right.
I'm gonna lose $3. I'm gonna spend it on some bull. Like I'm
Right,
gonna
right,
spend it
for
on some
sure.
candy. Like I'm spending on Starbucks. Like
Yeah,
something that I
something.
don't need. I got a gym membership. I ain't been to the gym in 4 months.
Oh my
Like
goodness, oh my
that's
goodness.
$31. Like
Child.
so it's like I try to approach things like that. I think something else I really want to like be remembered for like value wise is I think my leadership. I think that that's something
Yeah.
that I've always kind of held really dear to me. It's something even as a kid I kind of ran from too. It's like I always felt compelled to help lead something. It could be something simple. It's like I be playing Call of Duty with the homies, right?
Yeah, right, for
But it's
sure.
like I understand that that's my role. It's like I might not be the best at one-on-one fights and stuff, but it's like, oh, I can come up with a plan. I can strategize. I can give us some guidance.
Right.
And it's like, that's how I contribute to a team. I love working with a team. But I feel like I understand a lot of people's strengths and weaknesses, and I try to put us all in the best position to be successful. So it's like, that's something else I really think of. And I guess the thing I said earlier, service. Like, I think service in the sense that, like, I feel very compelled to just help people. And I think it's rooted in like a love for community, love for black and brown people, marginalized people, people that have less than. Again, because it's just like, I don't know. And even when I don't feel like it too, like I be having to pick up my students and stuff, like on my own gas, like drive around early in the morning on a Saturday. And it's like, I want to chill, but it's like, I know that this work is worth it. I know that these students will love it. Like, nonprofit work is exhausting. It's exhausting. It's not a normal 9 to 5, but it's like, I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. So it's like, even though I might complain, it's like, I know this is where I need to be, at least at this moment in my life. Right. Everything I've done up until this point has been for other people. And I don't feel completely burdened by that. So yeah, like I love showing up for people. Like if my friends, if something's going on in Vegas and they need me or my mom need me, like I'm there at a drop of a hat. Like putting in some time off, and maybe I don't got no time off. I figure it out. Like for real. I'm there because it's like that's what I want to be remembered for. Because that's maybe what I need as a person too. But it's like it's definitely what I want to be for other people.
Absolutely. I wanna shift real quick too, because this is something I just came up with. When we think about legacy, right, and especially as young men. Do you feel like we as men value legacies with our families and our friends as much as like careers and stuff? Because I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm about to go to my 3rd wedding out of 4 that I've been to that I got planned for this year. And as men, what I think about is what type of legacy with women have we left when it comes to dating. Like I know dudes who have done some horrible things and they are happily married. And it's like, as you're walking down that aisle and you look to your left and to your right, if you had all the women that you've ever dated, talked to, this, that, and the third, like, would you be happy with that legacy that you left in terms of how you treated people when you're dating? Would you be happy with that legacy of your family, right? Like, yo, was I there for my spouse and my kids? You know what I'm saying? That legacy in your community, like you were saying, like, did I do a lot for my community? Like, so do you think that we prioritize legacies in certain areas versus others?
Absolutely. I think that's such a great question. I can think of 5 people off the top of my head that I know that like they're very successful people, but they're very shitty people. Yeah. But it's like they're successful by terms of like accomplishments. Like, oh, I've gone to Harvard Law, or I've gone to UCLA Law, and I have a big job, right? I'm making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Like, but they treat people terrible. Right. And I've known some people that make good money and they're great people too. Yeah, for sure. So it's not an end all be all, but it's like someone will be happy to marry them because of what they can provide. Right. And I think that men think of, a lot of men, not all men, but like I think we as men often think of like, yeah, like I'm gonna be successful and I'm gonna handle all of this money stuff, but like that family stuff, like they might not know they child's a birthday sometimes. Like I've heard people telling me that they dad don't know their birthday and that their mom have to remind them. They may have never taken their child to a football game or a basketball game or a recital or gone to a play, things like that. So I think in a lot of ways men don't show up for like they don't care for their legacy in that way. And I think just like you said, I think also when it comes to dating, right, it's like they don't consider that legacy at all because I think again we've talked about this commodity conversation. Like I think men, especially successful black men, see themselves as commodities, and they understand that like, yeah, I might have did so and so dirty, or I might have did so and so dirty, but there are so many other fish in the sea, and they gonna want me. So it's like it is what it is, and I think that we have to be able to change that because your legacy again is everyone that you touch. Everyone's going to be around to tell your story. Your spouse might really find you to be the most wonderful person, but like, what about these 14 other women that you treated and really dragged through the mud.
Right, yeah, and that I think that's something that I think about because I think that so many times we as men we're like, the wife, and even with the Will Smith and Chris Rock situation, it's like, oh, he was talking craziness about his wife. Well, I'm married and I would do that, and it's like, yeah, but it's like your legacy doesn't your legacy even in romantic situations doesn't start with your wife. You know what I'm saying? And it's like just because someone has that title doesn't mean that you get a right to treat everybody else who's not that with less compassion and whatnot. Now, obviously, there's going to be a different level of loyalty and stuff like that to your wife, but like I think it just gets super interesting because it's like we don't really think about how we destroy people on our way to like what we consider success. And it's like when you don't have that type of clarity, like it is effing up your legacy, man. Like for real.
That's true. I really like that. And we're talking about success. So how do you define success?
I think that success is consistency, and not just consistency in action, but your mental and emotional state. I told y'all, this week has been slapping the dog shit out of me. But I'm very proud of myself because I look at it as an opportunity to build mental and emotional fortitude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Like if you can like kill shit when you feeling good, that's great. But like, duh, nigga, you know what I'm saying? But like if you can kill stuff when you're not feeling it. You know what I'm saying?
Like, who are you when your back is against the wall?
Yeah,
That's who I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel
that.
like I am actually pretty good at those types of situations. I'm pretty good at keeping my head held high and letting my emotions be what they are and embracing them, but continuing to move forward. And I think that the journey and mastering the journey for me is success because you can't control the outcome regardless. But for me, it's like if I can get to a routine in my mental and emotional state and combine that with actions of discipline, like I feel like that is the success. Like I won. Like you can't do anything or take anything from me because I know that I showed up. When I'm in a situation where it's like I can look at multiple facets of my life and I can say I'm actually showing up 100% in all these different areas, that's when it's like, oh no, I got it. I got it. I am success because no matter what the outcome is, I'm proud of me.
Yeah.
I look in the mirror and I'm like, nah, bro, you doing everything that you can do, and there's no regret anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that. Yeah, persistence. That's what I think of. Like persistence in what Robin Kelly would call like struggle, right? And I think people think of struggle in a bad way, but it's like, no, like if you understand life, it'll always be highs and lows. So you got to continue to struggle through. And it's like struggle is beautiful. I think what J. Cole said is beauty in the struggle. Beauty.
Yes.
So I like that a lot. And I think that, it's that trying shit. That's what I think of as success. Like you're only unsuccessful when you stop. You only fail when you stop because there's another opportunity. It's like how we were talking about legacy. It's like, as long as you wake up that next day, like you got a shot, bro. Like you can miss 100 shots, but you can hit the game winner. So like you just got to keep moving, keep going. And I think so many people define success by their status, the reputation, the wealth that they've accumulated, and they see that as success. But like I think a success is like the networks that I built, the love that I have in my heart around me, how people value me, absolutely. The impact that I've made and the lives that I've touched, like I feel widely successful because there's a student that I worked with that told me he didn't want to go to college, and I damn near bullied him. I didn't bully him. Like we had some
bullied him. It's all right. Say it.
Bullied him through love. You know what I mean? Like, but we just had a good conversation. I asked him why he didn't want to go to college, and he said he just didn't know nobody that went to college. He don't need to go to college to be successful. And I was like, you're right. But I was like, who do you know that's going to college? And he said, an aunt that was doing pretty good. I had asked him, he was like, yeah, she's doing pretty good. And he was like, I mean, you and my teachers. And I was like, they lives pretty solid, right? He was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, who do you know that didn't go to college and how are they doing? And it really like changed how he thought about it. He's like, oh, some of the people around me didn't go to college and they're struggling. And that's not the end all be all, but like it is a factor that can lead to other opportunities. And now he's getting his acceptances back and he's excited to go.
Come on,
he's
man.
hyped. He like, oh, I got so many opportunities in front of me. He sees all of these doors that he couldn't have imagined before. And like, to me, that's successful. Like, if I don't do anything else at this organization, like, I was successful. Like, because I've changed a life. I think that that's how I see success. Like, as long as you can positively impact the people around you, like, no matter how much money you got in your pocket, how much respect you got on your name or clout you got on your name, like, you're successful.
Yeah, you remind me of this one time I was telling my guidance counselor that I wanted to like be a guidance counselor one time, and he looked at me, and this is a white man, and I'll tell you why that's important in a second. And he said, you know, Ashton, I feel like you could do something much bigger than that. And I was like, whoa, that's so crazy. This man is telling me like, hey, this is what I do, and I know you want to do this, but like you were selling yourself short. And like I never forgot that moment, because I was just like, damn, like for this grown man to be telling me, like,
and he was your guidance counselor?
Yes.
Wow.
For this white man to be telling me like, yo, hey, little black boy, like you can be higher than like what you see me as. I was like, whoa. Like, and I never forgot that type of moment. And like that's a part of his legacy, because I'll never forget how I almost felt bad for him, but also really good.
Yeah,
like,
affirmed.
Yeah, like, whoa, like you think this highly of me. So like, yeah, just shout out to him. And that's also a part of how you make people feel. Like, to be honest, I know some people who Maya Angelou has personally offended, and it's like, even though her legacy is huge, you know, to some people it's like, hey, you know, I don't really like Maya Angelou and this, that, and the third. So like, it's all wrapped up.
It is. It's not like broad. Like, I mean, that's how I felt about Steph Curry for a long period of time, right? Man. It's like, yeah, he might be the best shooter ever, but like, he sucks as a person. I mean, and of course, that's like a broad generalization. Like, I might have caught him on a bad day.
Right.
But it's like, people might catch you on a bad day. So I think that that's also important too, is that like, people's perception of you can't be the only part of your legacy. Like, it can't stop your legacy. Like, you can't be the best person to everybody. Like, it just won't be able to happen.
How do you deal with being the villain in someone's story?
I struggled with that for a while. I definitely struggled with that for a while, because I try to do my best. Like, even now to this day, I have it's not a friend no more, but we were extremely, extremely close. And like, it was one of my best friends. And it was like, we don't even talk. And like, I am definitely the villain in her story. But when I recount the events, it's like, I wasn't that villainous.
Right.
But I just had to understand and accept that, like, that is how someone else will just see me. And it's like, I just have to move on. And it's like, I do have to learn from the mistakes. Right. Absolutely. But it's like, I know that that's not who I am as a person. And that doesn't color me as like an individual. And like, but knowing that someone can perceive some actions in a way that like is completely different than how I perceived it. It's like, I know moving forward, like how I need to approach other people.
Absolutely.
So, but it's tough. It's tough, because it's like almost like a contradiction into who you see yourself as. And it's hard. It's hard to look yourself in the mirror, and it's someone else's that mirror, right? It's like a different reflection of you that they have of you. So it's tough. But what about you?
Yeah,
I think
man.
that's a good question.
Hey, look, man, you know what? I don't. It's sometimes I'm a villain in some people's stories, but sometimes I just do villainous things, and people might not look at me as a villain, but like they're hurt. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what I deal with. That's what I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, you do take those lessons and you say, all right, how can I get better? And how can I stay more positive? And I think that a while ago, what I learned too is that sometimes you'll be the villain in people's stories because of them and not because of you. Like, people are just hating on me for no reason that I've shown nothing but love to, right? At least in my estimation. And so and like, you know, being in this world, especially as a black person, people just gonna hate you anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So like to the racist man in Kentucky, you know what I'm saying, who sees me talking about critical race theory, you know, he'll hate me forever, and that's okay. So I think that once you can deal with the fact that like your good behavior will cause hate and you to be the villain, when you're the bad guy and you're the villain, you take it and say, all right, well, I can actually try to change and alter some of the things that made me a villain here. But like, yeah, I think that once you get settled into that idea that someone's going to hate you for some reason, whether it's valid or not, I think it makes it a lot easier to live with and like move on regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
and I really liked how you talked about the two different things, right? Because it's like the things that you truly believe in and you truly see as yourself, like people still might see that and think of it as villainous, right?
yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like I think about the Black Panthers, right? Like so many people think of them as a terrorist organization, and it's like, but when you really look into it, they're not. But like people don't care to do that deep dive, so that's all that they are. Like they are the villain in someone's story, right? A lot of people's story, America's story,
Right.
to be honest. Malcolm X, like people see Malcolm X, they're like, oh, violence. All he cared about was violence. And it's like, that's not all that he was. So that reminds me that it's just complex, right? Like even when you do bad things, that's not all that you are. And I'm watching this anime. It's called Ranking of Kings. I think everybody should check it out. But I really like it because every character is so complex. Like even when they're doing terrible things to other people, it's like it's all rooted in a whole bunch of different things, right? And it's like you can at least understand it from their perspective. You might not agree, but it's like, oh, it makes sense why they did this. And I think that that's kind of where we need to move toward as a society. Like, yeah, this person might have hurt me, but I understand the hurt that they were coming from, and this is how it happened. It's not excused by any means, but it makes sense. And I think it always hurts more when it doesn't make sense. And I think that that's what when we can make sense out of it, then I think we can at least move on and it feels more comfortable.
Right.
But yeah, so we're talking about legacy, right? And we're talking about like how actions can be perceived by others and how these can kind of tarnish your legacy, right? Now, I know we didn't talk about it a lot. Everybody and their mama didn't talk about it, but I want to talk about Will Smith in the sense that, do you think that the slap tarnishes his legacy? He's lost opportunities, but do you think it tarnishes his legacy?
Now, Will Smith's legacy has been solidified for years. Like, there's nothing Will Smith can do to like make him not be a legend anymore. You know, he's there. Like he's on. Like I don't personally like Dr. Dre. If you want to know why, just look it up. But you know, you got your Dr. Dre's, your Jay-Z's, your like he's at the A-list status where it's like all his legendary work was like over a decade ago.
Yeah. He's
Will Smith regardless for the rest of his life. It can tarnish future opportunities, but it's like and we said this on our IG live too. It's like Will Smith is already worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You can't do too much to him. He could go be away and not be in the entertainment industry for the rest of his life and be living a very luxurious lifestyle. So did it tarnish his legacy? Not necessarily. I think, and in some people's eyes, it actually like boosted it.
Yeah,
because it was like he stepped up. He defended a black woman.
He a real man now.
Yeah, which is oddly funny enough because Jada didn't even want him to get violent with Chris, but whatever. That's for another day. But no, I don't think it really tarnished his legacy. Maybe just future opportunities. But even then, I don't know. Compared to everything else, they let R. Kelly go for years. And he was doing more than slapping people.
That's
so
true.
we'll see how it shakes out. I think it's just going to be maybe your next rocky few weeks, no pun intended. But you know, but
that.
what do you think, man?
I like everything that you said, and I agree. Right, I think legacy makes me think of it as a larger body of work.
Right.
There may be a stain on it, but not everything is perfect. Right. So yeah, he might lose some opportunities, but honestly, we didn't need Bad Boys 4.
Well, also, you just made me think because there is a difference, right? So Cosby, his legacy
that is true.
Like I think people will always appreciate the Cosby Show, A Different World, all the stuff he's done for HBCUs. But like now, when you say Cosby, even when you say Cosby, you're thinking about people roofies and this, that, and the third. Like his stuff. When you say R. Kelly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because to be honest, R. Kelly is probably still one of the best R&B artists of all time, easily. But when you say R. Kelly, it's the
we
taste.
can't even step in the name of love no more.
Yeah, you can't listen. Like no one's gonna look at you funny if you're looking at the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, whether the new or the old one, right? Like it's a different thing. So when we think about legacy, it's also like, what's the taste in people's mouths when they say your name? What's the first associations that people are making when they say your name? I don't rock with Kanye right now because of a lot of things that he's done. But right now, his legacy is not necessarily tarnished. Because when you say Kanye, oh, you got the genius, you got the Donda, you got the shoes, you got billionaire attached to it now. Like it's still, his legacy is still that.
Yeah,
you know?
And I mean, even with Cosby, like, though a lot of people across the mainstream don't fuck with him, like, he's still rich. People still fuck with him.
Right.
So it's like, I guess cancel culture in a way isn't really a thing, right? So yeah, because R. Kelly, people still bump R. Kelly.
Oh yeah.
People still out here, free R. Kelly, like it's a Boondocks like episode, right? So I think that does make me think of legacy because it's a completely bigger thing, and it's like what you bring up is that like violence, there's degrees to it. Right. It's like how heinous was your actions? Because it's like there's some things that people do that is distasteful. It's like I don't know if I'm rocking with you right now.
Right.
Like J. Cole had got that thing with No Name, right? And it's like for some people it was like, oh, I don't know if I fuck with J. Cole no more. And they stopped, right? But for some people it's like, I wish you didn't do that, Cole. But like, yeah, like it just is what it is. Like people make mistakes, you know what I mean? So I think it's like on a personal level it'll be different degrees, but like I guess we do have to measure how heavy was that action. And thinking about how heavy the action was, let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Yes, so Black Lives Matter, the global network, was found out to have had a secret $6 million home in Southern California. So how do you think that impacts their legacy?
I think Black Lives Matter is it's so different too because it's so political, right? And it's like anyone, like, you can look at the Black Panthers, you can look at a lot of these radical organizations and you can find faults in them. But in terms of, like, I don't fuck with their whole movement and stuff in general, like, if you are that extreme on it, then, like, you were already on the other side anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I think. Like, there are corrupt people in every organization. And the woman who was accused, like, she actually went and explained, like, she's never lived there, this, that, and the
Patrice
third.
Cullors.
Yes. And it was like, and she was saying, but everyone was so quick to jump on that and believe that without supporting documents. And I don't know what's true or what's not true, but Black Lives Matter has done so much in terms of just creating conversations. Like, of course, you have your protests and the political and the organizing work, but I think that with Black Lives Matter, it put the country on notice. It made you, have that conversation with that white coworker or that white family member and be like, oh, where do you stand? Right. And it did that for us as a community, as a culture. And so for me, I don't think its legacy is tarnished because I think that with any organization, you can find some little thing that wasn't right. But I think that when we say Black Lives Matter, it still has power. You know what I'm saying? When you say Black Lives Matter, just you saying Black Lives Matter can put some people at ease or put some people in affirmation and encouragement. So I can't say that BLM's legacy is tarnished. I can't say that.
Okay. See, I think I have a bit different of approach.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about this a lot, like even over the months, because we talked about this when some allegations first came out before, right? And I think that it is unfortunate that the organization Black Lives Matter has the same name as the movement Black Lives Matter.
I see.
So it's like, imagine civil rights. Like, imagine if like the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, like that's what Martin Luther King and them was on. Right. That was called like the civil rights. So then it's like, even though Martin Luther King is closely associated with it, there's some type of separation and there's understanding of the two.
Right.
So when we say Black Lives Matter, like that's a movement. Like the movement helped those conversations happen, right? The movement, like it was George Floyd being killed, it was Michael Brown being killed. I think that the organization capitalized off of the name. I think that their name and it becoming the movement coincided, but I think that because they were so closely linked, that's where the problems kind of stemmed from. And looking at a lot of people talk about it, like I understand Patrice Cullors, like she came out and said it wasn't anything extremely heinous, right? It wasn't anything like malicious. And I think that that's almost like, it makes it a bit more concerning to me because she says like no one lives there and it's simply like social justice like influencer house. They want to create content out of there. But they've had it for about 17 months and no content has really come out other than them addressing the concerns of people saying that they launder money. So it's like, that's the only video y'all done create out of this house. So it's like, that makes me a little bit skeptical. But in general, I think that when it comes to Black Lives Matter, like, I think about the Black Panthers. It's like they were a grassroots organization, and I'm sure a few people got their hands on some money and did some things and lived some luxurious lives, went to some countries. I think Huey P. Newton at the end of it was living in a penthouse, and a lot of people were broke, right? But I think that's completely different than like kind of what they're doing, because I don't think Black Lives Matter has put out any policy, right? There's no concrete thing that we can look at and say like Black Lives Matter, the organization did this. So many people donated so much money and we don't know what that money influenced, because the killing of George Floyd, like, we were going to talk about it no matter what, like no matter what it was called. Like, we could say police brutality is bad. That could have been the name of the movement, right? And then we'd have still been having the conversations. So looking at what the Black Lives Matter like organization has done, is like they've focused on like social media campaigns and things like that, but nothing that's truly tangible. And I think that that's kind of the problem. And I think that this coming out has made me understand their legacy in that way, because no one has ever really critiqued them. Some people have, of course. But like mainstream, like no one has really critiqued them on a large scale to say like, hey, I don't think that y'all have created any programs for us. Because when people asked about that before, they said we're not a charity organization. We're building power. But their idea of building power is working with celebrities to kind of talk about larger issues, but nothing has tangibly gotten done. So I think that that's just one thing I think about when we think about their legacy.
Touche. That's real. I also want to give a quick shout out to Coach K. To just a quick tangent. Because when we think about legacy in that regard, 42 years, 5 championships. I was there when we won one of them. And I just wanted to give him a quick shout out, because I hated it for him because he lost to Chapel Hill twice, and that like really irked me. And I think it also goes back to this idea of like, we don't have control over certain things, right? Like, I'm sure that's not how he wanted his story to quote unquote end, but he can look back in the mirror. And I think that this is what I was saying about success, and say, I did everything I could do. I fought to the end. I made it to the Final Four. Like, I went out like a G. So
on your own terms.
Yeah. But I definitely do see where you're coming from in terms of like them not creating anything super concrete, and like, what does that actually mean in terms of how they're now being perceived, and like, you know, especially with the movement and the organization having the same name, right? So it's something to think about, man. It's something to think about.
It is. And as we close out, I just want our audience to think about their legacy and how they're creating their legacy. I think it was an important conversation. I really loved it. But again, like, legacy really has a lot to do with how you're impacting the people around you. So the one question I want to leave y'all off with, and leave us off with, is like, how are we improving the lives of the people around us each and every day? Because that is truly how you build your legacy. We're sowing seeds for plants and fruits that we will never get to eat ourselves, but other people will. So I think that that's a great note to leave off on. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. Going off your point, also remember that legacy is nuance, and legacy is in multitude, right? So you're putting seeds in multiple gardens when you're thinking about legacy. So in your family, in your community, in your romantic relationships, and your professional stuff, and how you treat yourself. Like, when you look back, how did I treat me? Ooh. Did I love me enough? Like, that's also a part of your legacy. So I just going off your point, plant those seeds everywhere and water all of them, because if one is not good, when you look back at your garden, it's not going to produce all the fruit that it should have, and you're going to feel disappointed about that.
I love that. So as we like to close out, keep the coffee black. All right, y'all. Peace, and we'll see y'all soon.